Hi there YouTube, my name is Simon and I make astrological videos and post them on the internet. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing you guys something that's really interesting, to be honest. I've been working on this project for quite some time now, and I'm really excited to be sharing you some of this stuff that I've found within obviously exploring this information. And today it's called the Cardinal Cross, and basically it's part of this new series that I'm creating called the Zodiac series. Okay. It's going to be a series that is going to basically share with you guys the nature of how the constellation, okay, from an astrological perspective, how it reflects back to us humans on Earth, and how that actually exists within our reality, and kind of sort of like bridge the gap between the looking at astrology from a sort of hocus pocus point of view, and more about how deep and insightful this stuff can actually be. So today, that's my sort of like goal. I want to share with you guys something that's really interesting. I'm going to take aspects of astrology and connect them, and then obviously show you how that exists within reality. So it's called the Zodiac series, and yeah. So the Cardinal Cross. This is what I'm going to be talking about today, part 1, and it begins with 4 signs. Okay, within the Cardinal Cross, okay, what we're looking at is 4 signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Okay, and this is an interesting energy type because it relates to the initiation of energy. It's the beginning phase energy. Whenever you are initiating something within your consciousness, whenever you are beginning something, it is this cross that you are bringing into your consciousness that is going to be making your life the way that it is. Does that make sense? So let's say, for instance, you start something. It is this energy. It's this energy in consciousness that is working through you, that is making it exist in reality. So as an entrepreneur, right, that would be a great example. The dynamics associated with beginning something, starting something. Okay, I'm going to begin this sort of like the series with a story. Okay, which I think is going to be sort of helpful in relating and making this a little bit easier to understand. In nature, what we have is the growth of a tree. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to analyze the nature of how this growth works. Okay. The cardinal energy within consciousness relates to the beginning phase of this tree's experience, and it begins as a seed underground. Okay, and what it does is it has to break through the ground, as you know, and begin its journey upwards. Okay, so the cardinal experience is that energy breaking through, okay, the sort of ground experience and starting its life. Okay, so you can think of a tree or a young plant, for instance, breaking through the ground and sort of like starting its existence. This is cardinal energy. Okay, and it's a fascinating way to look at it because it's a reflection out in nature that is beautifully designed and explained through the nature of the zodiac as well. So kind of cool, I must admit. Okay. So what I'm going to do, guys, is explain to you the 4 symbols that are related in this cardinal cross, and I'm going to begin with Aries, but I'm going to sort of give you guys a broad overview of the archetypes. Okay, there is a lot more in depth to all the archetypes, and if you're interested in knowing more about that, contact me on my website, as you can see over there, or write in the comments below. I will be doing series later explaining specifically about each archetype in itself because they're extremely in depth. So I'm going to give you guys just a broad brushstroke of this so that you understand what it is that I'm going to do later on in the video. Okay, so Aries. Aries is the energy in consciousness that relates to new beginnings. Okay, it is that impulsive and instinctual action process within our consciousness and within the zodiac that relates us and allows us to understand to get from point A to point B. Okay, it's action orientated, but it is about making those choices to get there. Okay, and it's about acting instinctually in that process. And it relates to new beginnings. It's the birthing process of everything, including your own birth in itself, is related to Aries. Okay, so Aries, like I said, and as you can see in the symbol, it's that birthing spring. It's like the spring within consciousness. Okay, new beginnings. And that picture over there that I've shared with you guys is pretty much how the Aries archetype works in consciousness. It's straightforward. It's like, we're going to be doing this, right? Which is why within the archetype of Aries as well, there's a lot of experience of anger. It's because Aries in itself needs total freedom in order for it to exist. And the reason for that is because the process of self-discovery is tied in with the arc of Aries, and if it is restricted in some way without that total freedom, okay, it will then allow for repression to take place. And that's actually connected to the Capricorn thing over there. But I won't go into that right now. I want you guys to focus on this energy of straightforward. And that's that energy that you see over there, that manifestation of that picture, is an energy archetype of Aries. Okay, so the next one, Cancer. Okay, so Cancer in this archetype relates to the inner identity. It's how you see yourself. Okay, and the why this works the way that it is, why Cancer reflects the nature of how we see ourselves, is because when we take the archetype of our home, okay, within our home we have a reflection of who we are based on the things that we have, based on our tastes, based on our likes, based on what is it that we are and how we identify ourselves on an inner world. Okay, our home is very private and an inner place. Okay, so Cancer correlates to our inner sense of self and identity, but even more so, it correlates to our ground roots. It's the deepest part within our consciousness that is related to that ego. Okay, and that identity in our group, and sorry, not our groups, our community and our home and our roots of who we are, where do we come from, our tribe, etc., etc. So the word I'm going to use for Cancer is our identity, inner identity, your inner world identity. Okay, so as we know, Aries, recap quickly, the go energy, the energy of actioning, etc., etc., to create self-discovery. That's the purpose. Cancer correlates to that identity. Okay. So as you can see over there, the reflection of me, that's the best way to see it. And as I said again, the deepest roots, okay? Where does your tribe come from? Where did you originate from? And that being a conditioning pattern of how you identify with yourself. So Libra, very, very simple. Libra is an energy that correlates to finding balance and harmony. Why? Because it is inherently based on extremes. Okay, the purpose of Libra in consciousness and in the constellation is to bring together two extremes, and that process of bringing together two extremes creates balance. This is why in the relationship archetype we have Libra as being defined through all sort of astrology forms as being, this is where relationships will happen. It's not the case all the time. It's just that Libra is associated with needing another person in order to experience and understand the nature of balance. You can't do it without anybody, okay? So it is inherently about finding balance and finding something that is common, okay? And so Libra will relate to that within relationships. As you can see over there, shaking hands. These are my needs, those are your needs, okay? How do we find a common ground and coexist, okay? And then the last sign in the constellation of the Grand Cross is Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn is the process of maturity. Okay, it's the 12 o'clock position within consciousness or in your clock, and it relates specifically to that point where you have now climbed the mountain of success and you're now at the top there and you've achieved this. It's the climax of the film. It's the main climax within a book. It's the process of maturation. Okay, and there are many things associated with maturation, like the sense of responsibility and duty and structure as well. Capricorn relates to that in that way because it's about structuring things over a period of time that will lead to form, which exists in reality. And that's the other dynamic of Capricorn. Okay, as you can see over there, there's a picture that I've put there that actually beautifully explains the nature of Capricorn in itself. It's the structure within our consciousness and forms reality. It's the building blocks. And it also relates to how we structure our reality and our hierarchy. Okay, it's a cause and effect energy as well, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But yeah, so that picture over there, the structure of our society, the structure of our reality and hierarchy. And that's what Capricorn actually looks like on a molecule level, okay? It's the building blocks of reality, it's matter, it's form. But it also, in this particular instance within the Grand Cross, correlates specifically to maturity, okay? So now that you guys have the full understandings of these archetypes within this Grand Cross, I'm going to now share with you how these actually look like in real life, and it's super cool. So, let me just move over to the Cardinal cross. Okay, so that's what it looks like in astrology chart, within consciousness, within the constellation. As you can see, Capricorn making an aspect to Libra, making an aspect to Cancer and Aries. And for you guys that are unfamiliar with the term aspect, I mean the connection. So you can see there with the red lines, and they make that Grand Cross. Okay, now within the dynamic of consciousness, okay, we human beings use this cardinal energy to self-discover. It is the process in relationships that allows us to understand more of who we are. And I'll give you an example of how this works fundamentally. Remember, we spoke about Aries as being our action, instinctual behavior, right? To create an experience so that we can get in feedback from the environment to know more about who we are. So it's an instinctual thing, finding out who we are. Cancer relates to our inner self and identity and emotional patterns and security on a conscious level, our ego. Libra, remember, others, but inherently trying to find balance, so we need the other. And Capricorn relating to the maturation process, the sense of duty, responsibility, and being able to find the structure in our lives, right? So can you imagine what will happen if we say, for instance, take Aries and Libra, okay? Within consciousness, whenever we are relating to somebody else, we are bringing our sense of identity, Cancer, okay, to the table instinctually and connecting to another person. Can you see how Aries, Cancer, and Libra all relate in that case? Okay. And then what we do is in our relationships, we can either bring two dynamics into it, depending on our level of vibration and our awareness in it. We can bring the mature process of understanding that we work within a societal process and our feelings and other people's feelings need to take into consideration and all of this type of stuff. If you bring that to the table, what you have is a sense of who you are, okay, bringing it to the table, relating to another person, finding fairness and balance, and in the whole archetype you have the sense of responsibility, duty, and awareness, right? Pretty cool, hey? Now that's on the positive side. The negative side, of course, can create this, where you are projecting your emotional needs or insecurities, okay, into the relationships and creating control, because the control relates specifically to needing to feel secure within a relationship. And these dynamics exist in all spheres, okay? And every single one of us are sort of, part of that process. It's about learning that process that allows us to understand more about who we are. So obviously we're going to find ourselves sometimes being like that within relationships, or being like that within relating to people. But it all exists in this actual grand cross, okay? So it's kind of neat, hey? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you guys how these sort of symbols individually work within our reality as well, okay? So let's take, for instance, let's press that button there. Relationships, like I said, Aries and Libra. How am I finding balance between somebody else and myself? That's the whole process of the Libra-Aries archetype, being able to represent yourself in the relationships and self-discover, okay? So beautifully put over here. We all know Dr. Phil and his understanding of the nature of relationships. Well, he probably has a really, really strong, sort of understanding of this archetype within his own natal chart, which is why he's able to tune into this energy and share the information that he does. But listen to this. Your relationship with yourself, right? Remember your relationship with yourself. So Aries, Libra, Cancer determines the relationship with others, right? Again, the same thing. And that information exists because of that archetype that I just shared with you guys now. Pretty cool, eh? Okay, so here we've got a picture of a mum trying to get away with her washing and the kids sort of hanging on. And I actually downloaded this picture from Google's images, and it relates to codependency, separation. Okay, separation anxiety, separation issues. And we all know that this exists within the nature of human beings. It's very difficult for us to experience this. Okay, that archetype, this picture over here, that experience exists within Aries and Cancer, okay? And again, through Capricorn and Libra, but directly through Aries and Cancer. Because what happens is that in the constellation, Aries inherently has a separation anxiety that is like tuned into that energy. Okay, and the reason for that is because when you are separate from the womb, when you're birthed, okay, the experience of finding that security again that was what you were spending 9 months for within the womb is now being removed from you. And so you have to kind of return back to that experience, which is why you'll notice that when a baby is born, the first thing that they do is they put the baby back onto the mum, or the baby tries and finds the mum again. Now in this particular instance, the mum is the home, right? The womb. So Cancer and Aries relating to how am I going to set out and go and explore and go and expand. But there is a square between these two, Aries and Cancer. And that square is a energy of challenge. And so what we have here in this experience of Aries, as we know as separation anxiety relative to the womb, is that in reality, that initial sort of like, okay, I'm moving away from something that is safe. And how do I feel about something that is safe? That inertia process, beginning something new. Oh, there's lots of risks associated with it. I need to be responsible. Okay, I need to relate to others in that way. Can you see how the Capricorn responsibility, Libra, Cancer, and Aries are all coming into that consciousness again? Pretty neat, eh? Okay. If we take, for instance, the archetype of Capricorn and Cancer, they're making an opposition to each other. Okay. Now, pardon me, guys. Let me just ground myself here. In our consciousness and in the constellations, the relationship between Cancer and Capricorn operates in this way. Okay, it is about inner and outer security. That is the purpose of Cancer Capricorn in the most deepest and spiritual sense. That is what we find when we are integrating and finding out how this archetype works. Okay, Cancer relates to our inner sense of self, and through that our sense of security. Okay, Capricorn relates to how we are able to establish that sense of self-discovery within us. Okay. And it's that interchange. You have to find inner security to be able to relate to yourself on the outside world with a sense of security, feeling strong and assured. That's the word, assured, right? Steady within your consciousness. So you go and you do a business deal. Now, or let me go with this actually. Let's take, for instance, an interview. An interview is a great example because all of us can relate to that experience of when we're going in for an interview. There's a large process within that interview thing where you're feeling a little bit sort of like, I need to feel confident. I need to come across confident. I need to be able to shake this person's hand and say, yes, I'm ready for the job, etc., etc. That experience exists within this archetype because it's about being sure of yourself, being able to take out your hand, Libra, okay, shake, find the balance and harmony, and also at the same time with a sense of maturity, a sense of responsibility, because you're like, yes, I will be able to accomplish these tasks, and yes, this is what I understand about the job, etc., etc. And you also bring yourself to the table by saying, this is who I am. Can you see how this interplay is working within the nature of an interview, right? Again, we're looking at two people relating to each other and how those interplays of energies are correlating with each other relative to this constellation. Pretty neat, hey? Pretty neat. Okay, so will you meet all my emotional needs? Again, I brought this, I downloaded this from the codependency sort of like keywords, and codependency is an interesting dynamic within relationships because it relates to the Cancer Libra archetype, but in totality also the Capricorn and Aries, but specifically with Cancer and Libra, because Cancer, firstly, as we know, is a water sign. It's your sense of security. Now, let's say, for instance, that sense of security in some way is underdeveloped, okay? And you're relating to other people within your relationships, and let's say the other person is a lot more stronger within their sense of self. There is a large part of that process where you will feel like you're being in some way controlled or dominated. It's not the case. It's not that you actually are. It's just that people are more assured. They're able to action things. They're able to be sort of like strong and willful within their process, whereas you might feel that you're not sure of yourself, you're not acting that strong, etc., etc. It's this dynamic that allows us within our consciousness to be that way, that relationship between Cancer and Libra and Aries. So it's about developing a strong sense of self and a sense of resilience and being able to act instinctively in that process and be action orientated and find balance and harmony within those relationships that are able to, that is what this sort of Grand Cross is offering us. Pretty cool, hey? Capricorn and Libra. So this is kind of an interesting one because Capricorn relates to your sense of duty, like I said, your responsibility, your maturity, the rules that you kind of have to put in place to follow, etc., etc., right? And Libra correlates to others. And it's kind of interesting because in this connection, we have the experience of expectations, okay? Because Capricorn feels instinctively that it is expected to do something. It's ever when you go to a job and you're expected to do this, these are my expectations. The Capricorn sense of duty, responsibility, consciousness is operating, and it's relating to Libra, other people's expectations on you to fulfill these tasks, etc., etc. And it will also specifically correlate to Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra, right? Because it's the expectations from others about who you are within the archetype of relating. As you can see, this picture over here explains it so well, because this heaviness of that I, okay, on top of you, is the nature of why Capricorn in itself, and Libra in itself, and Aries and Cancer in itself is in existence, pardon me, is because Capricorn inherently will feel that these expectations can be weighing down on you, right? And Aries now comes into play and goes, hold on guys, I need total freedom, but I can't act with this total freedom. So can you imagine the type of energy that's existing within our consciousness? If we're not having that freedom, we get frustrated, we get sort of like wound up, we get a little bit sort of stressed out. This is this consciousness that's happening. Aries is like coming in here, guys, going, I need all this sort of total freedom, etc., etc., but there's these expectations weighing down on me, and so on and so forth. So this is a very broad perspective that I'm sharing with you guys. Obviously there's a lot more in-depth understanding that is associated with this, okay? But this is like, I'm allowing you guys to sort of look in this direction more than anything else. Yeah. So finally, I want to show you guys all the keywords that I was sharing with you right now about Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries, and Libra, etc., etc. I also got this from a relationships page, and as you can see over there, they've got examples of the spectrum. And it's got intimate relationships, and it's got like dysfunctional extremes and dysfunctional extremes. Take a look at all the words that are related over there. And can you see the nature of how that's existing within the archetype of this grand cross? You've got caring, okay, right? So Cancer, Capricorn. Responsibility, Capricorn. Encouragement, Aries. Accept, Libra. Communicate, again a Libra thing. It's got more to do with the connection between Gemini and Libra. But communicating is a really strong part of this process, communicating yourself within the relationships. Understanding, again, another Libra archetype. Honesty, Capricorn, Libra, okay? And also then Cancer and Aries as well, because it's all about bringing that dynamic into the relationship or relating dynamic. Flexible, right? Again, being able to be flexible. This person has these understandings, this person has this understanding, where can we find a common ground, okay? And again, if I was telling you guys about the expectation bracket, look over here, over-responsible. That could be somebody that's taking on too much responsibility within relationships, right? Capricorn, Libra, I'm expected to do this, or for instance, and not feeling the freedom that is needed within relationships, right? Control, again, another Capricorn thing. If we look at things over here, like irresponsible on the other side of the spectrum, right? Not taking responsibility and having the expectations weigh on somebody else, right? Can you see how these experiences are having? Naivety, alienating, okay, withholding information. All this type of stuff exists within this grand cross. Pretty neat, eh? So to end off over here, guys, I just wanted to share with you that information. I hope that it's sort of like sparked some interest and some understanding, and also some curiosity. If you guys are interested in knowing more about how this actually works in your own natal chart, hit me up on simonvorster.com. Write to me, book a reading, for instance. They're really, really cheap. At the moment, I'm putting 900 Swedish crowns for an hour and 20 minutes, for instance, and it's really, really insightful. I think a lot of self-discovery comes through that process as well. And if you enjoy the content, hit the like and subscribe button, guys. So yeah, until then, have a fantastic day, and take care. Bye.